We are live.
All righty. So the hour is 5:01. I'd like to call the planning board meeting of February 1st, if you can believe it, of 2024 to order. As the recent amendments to the open meeting law allows, the planning board will continue to hold meetings remotely. Adequate alternative access to the meeting is provided through the following link, or you can join us by our telephone number. Next order of business is introduction of planning board members and staff. So Doug is at the top of the board today. My name is Rick. David Rosen, Catherine McNiff is staff. We've got Sean Henry, Hank McCarl, Greg Catamatori, our planning director. David Fields is in attendance, our community development director. Jane Ramson. Next, under A&Rs, site plan reviews and preliminary subdivision plans. The preliminary subdivision plan Form B from Marmion Way submitted by Robert and Patricia Callahan to be located at 22, 28, and 39 Pew Ave and 17 Pine Road, Assessors Map 219, lots 175, 130, 126, 131. Has been requested by the applicant to be continued to the February 15th meeting. So
I move that we continue the preliminary subdivision plan for Miriam Way to the February 15th, 2024 meeting.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Hank. Roll call vote, please.
Member Noonan,
Yes.
Member McCarl,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Henry,
Yes.
Member Remsen,
Yes.
and Member Rosen.
Yes.
Thank you. Next under the agenda this evening is public hearing, a definitive open space residential development and OSRD subdivision plan and watershed protection overlay district special permit filed by James M. McKenna, Esquire, on behalf of Cole Ave LLC to permit a 12-unit residential development at 19 Cole Ave, Assessors Map 213, lots 20 or lot 20. We do have representation this evening, but the applicant has requested to be withdrawn without prejudice. So Attorney Jamie, if you wanted to introduce yourself and your firm and fill us in.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for your service. My name is Jamie Madea. Actually, it's Jamie Buchanan is the middle name, Madea. And my firm is Buchanan and Associates. And I am here to support the existing team. And I'm here today just to respectfully request withdrawal of the pending application without prejudice, so that other approaches may be considered. My understanding is that before I joined this team, you put substantial work into the proposal, and there was an ample variety of opinions and concerns. So we'd like to withdraw and give them all consideration before refiling.
Jane, you want to take a crack at a motion?
I do. Greg's informed me that we actually need two motions for this, one to request to withdraw the OSRD and one to request to withdraw the watershed protection overlay. So bear with me. I move to accept the request to withdraw without prejudice the open space residential development definitive subdivision plan and application submitted by Cole Ave LLC for an OSRD definitive subdivision at 19 Cole Ave, Assessors Map 213, Lot 20.
Second. Thank you, Hank. Roll call vote, please.
Member Noonan,
Yes.
Member McCarl,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Henry,
Yes.
Member Remsen,
Yes.
and Member Rosen.
Yes.
I also move that we accept the request to withdraw without prejudice the watershed protection overlay district special permit application submitted by Cole Avenue LLC associated with the OSRD definitive subdivision at 19 Cole Avenue, Assessors Map 213, Lot 20.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We need a roll call vote, please.
Member Noonan,
Yes.
Member McCarl,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Henry,
Yes.
Member Remsen,
Yes.
and Member Rosen.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and may I add, thank you for noticing the need to do it twice. And thank you for your service. I know you are not overpaid and you're extremely professional. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. We are overpaid. No planning board member left
I
behind.
think just you, Rick. You're the only one.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
okay.
That new Rolls Royce just came in, Jane. I'll have to give you a ride. Just need to thank you. Okay, swiftly on to other business. Fantastic. Update on MGL Chapter 40A 3A Technical Assistance. We have, yes. So Sean is, I don't know what Sean's doing. He's sending us hand signals. We can't see him anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
He's
Mr.
trying
Field,
to fix the blurriness of his camera.
it's funny that he's a photographer, right? You know.
I was about to put these on because I thought I was having a problem.
No, it's the camera. I don't know what's going on with it.
It's been near in the kitchen too long. It's covered with
That's
olive oil.
better. You
Yeah.
can see.
Hey,
There we go.
all right. Thank you. And I thought Hank had problems. Jeez.
And your popcorn's ready. too,
Oh.
Yeah.
Hank is
All right,
here.
David. Yes, David, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Planning Board, for having me here this evening. I did want to share just a brief update, and Greg can chime in whenever necessary, on where we're at with the 40A, 3A process, our contract with an outside consultant, as well as how it's integrating into the comp plan. Greg, do you want me to share the PowerPoint?
You can go ahead and do that, sure.
Cool. Hold on. Can everyone see that?
Now we can.
All right. So I'll leave it like this. We don't have to do the full slideshow, but very brief. Greg and I discussed this earlier in the week, and we wanted to go over where we started off in 2023. I think this was put together in the late winter of 2022. We discussed complying with the 3A action plan, which we submitted, I think it was for January 31st, 2023. As you can see, that was submitted. We got that in, so we are currently compliant. And we did go through the consultant selection process for a comprehensive plan in the summer and into the fall of 2023 with a kickoff at City Hall in September, if you all remember. It was a very warm September day, I believe, in Kairou's auditorium. Moving swiftly along, we did all the outreach work that you have been involved with, the community's been involved with, all of our survey work and our meeting in the boxes related to the comprehensive plan in the winter of 23, which carried over into this January. So where we're at now, per this slide and per the timeline that's on the website, which is shown here, we are right about ready to kick off our 40A 3A outreach process. So we have selected RKG Consultants, consultant firm local to Massachusetts, though they have offices in New Hampshire and Virginia, they have helped a number of rapid transit communities already come into compliance, and they've worked with a number of more suburban communities as well to actually develop zoning, come up with 3D modeling to show communities, what any potential zoning impacts may have, as well as submit the compliance model to the state for review and eventual adoption, or I guess not adoption, but get the checkbox that you did it correctly, your math is right. So on this timeline here, we are slated to come in, to the planning board with some open public hearings based on some scenario planning that RKG will develop for us and for the planning board and city council. Late May, probably early June, around the summer timeframe. We do expect the consultant firm to draft zoning based on public input, based on input from the planning board, as well as hopefully the planning and development subcommittee of the city council. So what we'd like to do, with your permission, Mr. Chair, members of the board, is work with the planning board, work through the planning board with the consultant to develop initial recommendations, develop some scenarios to show to the public once we get public feedback, create some draft zoning, all the meanwhile checking in consistently with planning and development subcommittee and working with them closely to make sure they're in the loop, they know what's going on so it doesn't get dropped on them at the end of the process. Going down to our last slide here. Pretty much more about what I just said, but this is how the 40A process integrates with the comp plan. So we should be getting back all of the survey work results, which is JM Goldson, our comp plan consultant, is calling ACES, Aggregated Community Engagement Survey, or sorry, summary. So we'll get that back. I think it's going to be ready for prime time and public consumption on Valentine's Day. So everyone can huddle up with their loved one and go over all the stats from the community surveys that we've done. And at the same time, you know, we'll be signing our contract with RKG, hopefully before this week's out. They have the contract in hand. We're just waiting for it to get back, and we're ready to roll. We have money on board, and we're good to go. RKG will be doing some background research based on the results of the ACEs and everything that we heard for the comp plan. So anything related to housing, as well as, you know, parking issues, all the things that were discussed at all of our meeting in the boxes, all of our crowd mapping and community surveys will inform their process. They'll also do some background research related to existing documentation. I will say though, Jen's team, Jen Goldson's team, our comp plan consultant, has put together a lot of that work. So we can hand that right off to RKG. Going into March through May, as I mentioned earlier, that's our public visioning sessions for the comp plan, but that's also for our 3A scenario development. So we anticipate around about 3 scenarios. We don't know what those are going to look like yet. We haven't given the consultant guidance yet. We don't want to, you know, discuss the process really before we get started with them. So we'll see what they come up with round about April, May timeframe. May 4th, we'll be kicking off our second open house. So as I mentioned before, the fall of 23, we had our first open house. We're looking for our second just fully open house May 4th, which is a Saturday. And then rolling right into the summer with draft zoning, draft recommendations, and proposals to the planning board for their public hearing process. And then, you know, informal probably presentations to P&D to get their input as well. So I think that's the schedule for the next couple months. Remainder of the year. Greg, I don't know if you wanted to add anything in addition, in case I missed anything.
No, I think the only other thing that we had mentioned is we'd be primarily kind of putting this on as a fairly regular agenda item for the planning board for updates. Some of those will be more substantial discussion, and we'll try to make a note of that versus, you know, there may be, you know, we meet every 2 weeks. We all know that. And so some of these steps in the process will take a little bit more time than that kind of cycle. But that, you know, again, for folks to really be able to track and follow what's going on, it'll be a regular item on the agenda for updates. And then we also discussed, you know, there'll be times where we'll broaden that a little bit and also invite council to participate in that as well.
Yeah, and I know Councilor Groh is on the call. I did speak with him earlier this week to keep him in the loop of where we're at with what we're doing with the planning board as it relates to comp plan and 3A and how we can integrate the planning and development subcommittee into this process. I have the draft schedule for RKG up on my screen. We don't have hard dates, but I can give a month-by-month update, and then we can move along. So February's project initiation, as I just discussed, we're looking at having our first, you know, citywide open public meeting specifically for 3A in March. So that's not that far away. It's pretty early on, but I think that's going to be critical for the consultant to hear feedback from, you know, what folks are hearing, what they're thinking, their opinions on things, you know, what side you're on, good, bad, and different, doesn't matter. We want to hear all thoughts. March through May will be that scenario building and planning, as I discussed. June, we'll have a second public meeting, again, similar full open format, most likely in Kairos as it's our largest space. Final scenario testing, so test fits for what we think is actually feasible and achievable, would be in June. And then draft zoning June through August with a finalized public meeting, again, for final thoughts, final tweaks, hopefully at that point in September. And then final zoning should be off to City Council around about late September, October time. So we'll give them 3 months realistically, you know, 3.5 months maybe to kick it around, do what they're going to do with it, and see where we're at. So anybody have any?
Yeah, I do. I think I'm confused. You showed a slide, and we all know that we're having 2 open houses about the comp plan.
Yes.
Are those the same thing as the public meeting regarding 3A, or is that that you mentioned in March, or is that a separate meeting?
Those will be separate. So we're lining up the visioning sessions for March and May for comprehensive plan with JM Goldson. And then we'll be doing separate public meetings with RKG specifically related to MBTA communities.
Okay. That's good.
Lots
It's
of-
good.
then-
It'll be a lot, but it's good. It'll be
Yeah,
good.
and then the public hearings, so for anyone out there listening, the process by which we adopt new zoning laws is on the planning board side anyway, is we draft something and then we're required by law to have public hearings about it. And then we vote on it, you know, we listen to public input and then we vote on it and it goes on to city council. I'm really sensitive to a criticism of this board that we have had in the past, that we draft something and the first time the public sees it is in these public hearings. So hopefully what you're telling me is that there are at least 2 instances for public input before we get to the drafting and the public hearing process. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So like, as I mentioned, the scenario test or the test fits, like I described before, are going to certainly be more visual. It's much more of a visual exercise. Those we'll get feedback on, and then the draft zoning, it'll start being drafted hopefully in June. And so we can get that out there in the public, share it openly, and get any feedback on that throughout the process. That's even before public hearings for the planning board.
That's great. You know, we did a really terrible job, you weren't here, on presenting the zoning amendments to the public that we did a year or 2 ago. But we have done an incredible job with the comprehensive plan initiative in terms of getting public input. It doesn't sound like we're actually going to repeat that incredible process that we did achieve with the comprehensive plan initiative, right? But we're building on it. Is that what you're saying?
We're building on it. I hope it's a complement for it. So, you know, the general state of housing throughout the city of Gloucester was discussed extensively throughout the comp plan process. Every meeting in the box that I held or attended, a large portion of the focus about that was housing. So we did get a lot of robust feedback. Again, the hope and the goal of all of that feedback was to feed into the 3A efforts, but also additionally any other recommendations that come out of the comp plan. So that's one thing I certainly don't want to lose sight of as we roll into recommendations for the comp plan itself, of which the 3A compliance is but one component. But the goal overall, I do think, was to line these 2 up, to not duplicate efforts, but build on both efforts simultaneously, rather than try to run 2 parallel outreach programs at the same time. I think it would be, or has the potential to be, even more confusing if we did a whole nother public launch initiative with multiple surveys. I think people would just say, didn't I just take a survey from you guys?
I will say we have developed an incredible email list as a result of our efforts with the comprehensive plan initiative. So I
Yes.
don't know, you know, that's another way for public outreach, but certainly to inform people that we're having these meetings or to give them an opportunity to comment.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Yes, we do have significant context now.
Okay.
Thank you, Jane. David?
Would it be possible to make the RFP for the planner available? And also just the link to the firm? Because when I looked up RKG, lots of different firms came up. One in Tortola, Virgin Islands. So it'd be great for us to be able to check that out.
We didn't tell you, we're actually going to fly the whole board down. That's most of the budget, but
Finally getting recognized for our hard work.
that's the reward you've all been looking for, right? I can certainly share the scope and then the firm's website with you.
That'd be great.
So you know who you're dealing with. The principal is a man by the name of Eric Halverson. He does excellent work, extremely competent. I've worked with him in the past in other communities, so
Great, thank
he
you.
should do a bang up job.
And Catherine, just make a note for the record that nobody's going to Tortola. Sean?
Is a basically an introduction of the consultant to the planning board and initial discussion included as part of the schedule?
Yeah, we hope to do that. Well, actually now this month, today's the first day of February. So Greg and I are looking at the calendar when we can line that up. It might be an off-cycle meeting. But yeah, we expect to do that.
Yeah, and again, regular updates at planning board meetings, but there may be times when we'll think about whether or not we need a focused agenda, depending upon the amount of content and the amount of input that we're taking at that time.
And I guess as we move forward, I mean, the timeline's pretty solid and well laid out, David, and I appreciate that. But as the workload dictates, and I think we've touched on it briefly, I mean, if there needs to be off-cycle meetings to facilitate, there will certainly be publicly noticed, duly noticed, and to handle the workload. I think that I'm confident that we're going to be in great shape as we get into the late summer, fall to move this on to the council. But if there needs to be extra work done, we're all interested in doing the best job we can here. And if we need to put in an extra week or two, that's fine. So just stay tuned. Go ahead.
And
Jen.
I volunteer me, Sean, and Beverly as the housing subcommittee to do extra work too. Like we can, if you don't want to involve the whole planning board, we can do some stuff at the subcommittee level and present it to the planning board.
Yeah, I think we're going to keep this at the full planning board level, but thank you for that.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Everybody wants to be involved. It's great.
One big happy family. Anything else for you, David, this evening?
No, that was the general update. Again, I'll get that scope out. I'll share it with y'all in the website. And any other questions in the meantime, obviously feel free to reach out.
Fantastic.
All right, thank you.
Great. I think that we have some minutes to do. Yeah.
One set of minutes.
So this is January 18th of 2024. I can't even believe it.
Yep, stop. Number one, well, under A&Rs, blah, blah, blah. It was a preliminary subdivision plan, not a regular subdivision plan, I believe, right?
Correct.
And I'm not sure we voted. Did we vote? Because I don't think we needed to vote. So,
You did
Move that
need to
along.
vote for the preliminary,
Yeah.
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
then we did vote.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, but just to add the word preliminary.
Yep.
In both the motion and the first sentence.
Right.
That's all.
I think so.
I move that we approve the minutes of January 18, 2024 as amended.
Have a motion.
Second.
Mr. Rosen gets the second this evening. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Member Noonan,
Yes.
member McCarl,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
Remsen,
Yes,
and Rose.
Yes.
Fantastic. Any other items that are unreasonably?
No, I think that's all for this evening.
I have a
Great.
question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I believe this is a month we vote on officers for the next year. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct? Sean's done some good work on that. When does that report come up and when would that vote occur?
So we've discussed it earlier, Greg and I, Katamatory that is, and I wanted to have a full board. Beverly will be in attendance next meeting, I believe. Is that right? And then we'll take that up for chair and vice chair.
I think my appointment might be up this month. I've not been contacted. So I continue to serve until I am either reappointed or someone else is appointed. I've not heard anything about that. I'm assuming that'll be Craig. How does that?
I will double check with the mayor's office right after this meeting.
Okay.
I think your term runs through 2025, Hank.
Oh, it does. Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, I think
Well,
that's
certainly
my
don't need to worry
recollection.
about that. That's for sure. I just think it's important for the board to know that Sean has asked me if it would be appropriate to step back as vice chairman, and Jane, I believe, has volunteered to take over that job, and I'm perfectly happy with that. I've been served as vice chair for quite a number of years, I very appreciate the opportunity to have done that. I'm perfectly happy to continue to work. And I'll certainly work through, as Sean pointed out, through next year, since my term is up at that time. And if I'm still in good health and capable, I will certainly consider a reappointment at that time if it's the appropriate thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hank.
Thank
And,
you, Hank.
Thanks, Hank.
So there's not going to be any gold watch on top of the no trip to Tortola.
I don't expect I don't expect any kind of a special recognition. I can assure you that it's been my privilege to serve on this board for a long time. In fact, I think my initial appointment was something like 2001 or something like that. So I've certainly been involved, and I must say that I've enjoyed the work and enjoyed the opportunity to serve the city and to work with you folks as a member of the board. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Hank. Thank you. Would you like to make a motion, Hank?
I'll be happy to move that we adjourn, Mr. Chairman, and until our next meeting.
Which is February 15th for all those in attendance this evening.
Just We're
So moved.
we're early this month, meeting the first day of the month.
So we do have a motion.
That's the
Need a
motion
second.
to adjourn.
Thank you.
Think
Doug.
Doug got a second?
I'm sure we can get a second for
A second.
Second.
that.
Put to Doug since he was on the
Roll
ball.
call. Member Noonan,
Yes.
member McCarl,
Yes.
member Cook,
Yes.
member Henry,
Yes.
member Remsen,
Yes.
member Rosen.
Yes.
Right, see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Have a good evening, folks.
Good night.
You.
Good night.